This is Creative Everyday Life, and this is my knitting podcast. It has been a while, so I would like first to say thank you for everyone that have subscribed lately. Thank you to anyone who keep on coming back to my videos, and thanks even if you're just stopping by for the first time and checking out what I'm doing over here. Yeah, I normally put a video up every month, but it has almost been 2 months at this time. But I'm trying to get them out as soon as I can. But yeah, life sometimes goes in a way where it's not easy to get them up. I am working full-time, having a small homestead, and I am chronically ill with MS. So I got a little bit of things on my plate, and this summer I have also been on vacation, so there has been a little bit hard to fit in, to sit down and talk to you. So sorry that it has been so long, but I am very happy that I can see that you like to watch my videos. Yes, let's get into the program of today. I made a little list so I don't forget. I hope I don't forget anything. But yes, let me just start with what I'm wearing, and then I will start to knit as I'm talking, but I will show you things along the way. But this one that I'm wearing is, I will show you pictures, but it is a t-shirt that I knitted. Sorry for the mosquito bites, but it is a t-shirt that I knitted this year, and it is knit with this this yarn that is called Esther. It is a pattern made from the company who produced this yarn, with of course a lace detail in the bottom, and also a little bit here on the sleeves. It is knitted from the top down, and I actually thought it was very interesting. It has, instead of when you're knitting raglan, you will have the two on each side. It still has that, but it also has, it is knit top down, so it is, there are increases here and here and on the back, so 6 increases instead of 4. So that was a fun feature, and I actually find that it looks quite flattering. It might not look as flattering when I'm sitting down with this, but I actually find the yoke looks quite flattering. It was a little bit hard to knit this. First of all, this is a lot thinner yarn that I'm used to. And second of all, knitting a lot of stockinette stitch I find quite boring, but I was knitting it while I was working, so I brought it to work, and in the breaks I would knit a little bit, so it was like a social kind of knitting, and that was actually kind of nice. This is made by 55% wool and 45% cotton. I'm sorry, but in Danish we say the numbers in a different order, so I just have to wrap my brain around it. But if you would like to knit with something like this, so I was knitting it with a needle size 3 millimeters, I believe, and I don't remember if it was 2.5 or 3 millimeters, but I was knitting according to the pattern, because I think it has been 2.5. I think that was the smallest number of needles that I had. So I just had to knit it as tight as I possibly could. This will actually get me into a lot of trouble because I have started to knit more according to how you're supposed to knit with the gauge, or yeah, according to the needles, which means that one of my projects that I have been working on beforehand, I'm doing this out of order, but it makes more sense to do it this way. I can see. I have been knitting on this Riddari pattern, and I stopped working on it a little while ago because I realized that this gauge is not correct, and I was thinking, is it just a little bit smaller, because then I might just use it anyway, but I was going for a size large, and this is smaller than extra small. So I have started to knit more like I'm supposed to. So I need bigger needles to knit this, but I will get back to that part later. Right now I will, while I'm chatting about what more finished objects I have, I will actually start working on my temperature blanket because I've fallen so far behind. So I will just introduce it in case you are new here. But I am working on a temperature blanket, and the concept is that every single day I will knit a row in the color of the highest temperature in the area. This is for a gift, so it's for a specific area, but this is my temperature chart. It is in Celsius, and this are the temperatures that correlates to how it would be in Denmark. So I don't have anything, well, everything below -3 and lower is just one color, because it is so far it has been 2 days out of the year where it has been colder than that, and then I have one color for everything above 30, and so far I have not used that color, so that might have been better to put it to divide it in another way if I should use those two colors more, but these are the colors that I'm working with. I am halfway done with the blanket. It is every day of this year 2024, and this part is June. So this is the divider. I knit a row of gray in between the months, so it'll be easy to tell. But this part is June, and I think this has been the hottest month so far that I have knitted. It has been kind of the same colors as May, but we did have a very warm May, so that makes sense. I haven't done the math on which month is the hottest, but these months are definitely some of the hot months. So I'm going to work on July. I've already put in the temperatures, and I just color it in. I have my colors out here, so I will color them in as I knit a row, and that way I will not completely lose track of where I'm going. But let me just start by finding my color here. So it was 19 degrees, and that means it is the middle brown. this one. And I've also written down which marker that I'm using, or I don't think they're called markers. What are they called? They're called markers. Twin markers, it says 715. So this one I will use when I'm done with that row. So this falls into, this color is everything between 17 and 20 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I am wondering, I was thinking about that earlier because well, let me just first say, this year we went to Iceland on our vacation, which was such a unique experience. I will tell more about that, but one of the things that was very unique about that experience is that it is very cold up there, compared to Denmark anyways. I live on the west coast of Denmark, and it does get quite windy and cold out here compared to other part of the country. But sorry, the dog had just barked at something. I have no idea. I thought it was the post that was coming or something like that, but it was not. I don't know what it was. It might have been the trash going out. But anywho's, this is crooked now. So anyways, in Iceland, when we traveled from Denmark, it was 21 degrees Celsius here, and we arrived up there. It was 10 degrees, rainy and foggy. We couldn't even see the mountain because the clouds were so low. And I think the highest degrees we had up there was about 18. It was actually kind of perfect most of the time, because we were able to wear our Icelandic sweaters, and when you are walking and stuff like that, it is actually kind of perfect that it's not too warm. And at the hotel where we were staying, it was so nice and toasty inside that you can walk around in a t-shirt, and it was very nice. But just when we came up there, it was so cold that I was actually afraid that we had way too little clothes with us, because we came from very sunny Denmark at the time. We just bought sunglasses and we're wearing a cap and stuff like that. I had to take it off because it was so windy the first couple of days that the cap would just blow off. Even if I had a ponytail that normally keeps it quite secure when it's blowing a lot here on the west coast, but it was a lot of wind, especially the first day. We were also at the west coast of Iceland, so it might be like in Denmark that the west coast is the coldest, most windy place. But it took us a couple of days to figure out that we just had to travel to the part. We were on the west side of Iceland, but we had to travel to some areas rather than others, because the weather would be very good one place and not very good at another place. So, but anyways, I was wondering, and that was what I was coming from. I was wondering what a hot, warm summer is to you. Do you even have it where you live? I know a lot of Danish people, they travel down south and would like to go to like Greece, Italy, Spain, France, Egypt, Turkey or something like that. They will go down there to to get the warmer weather. I personally think that is way too warm. I think that when it is warm in Denmark, and yeah, let me just see how high it has been, like in early 20s, mid 20s. Mid 20s I think is too warm, simply too warm to do much, at least outside. I go inside at least in the warmer hours of the days, because it gets very warm. Luckily most Danish houses are brick houses, so it is typically cooler inside, and it keeps the warmth as well in the winter because of the mass of the bricks. I know that in United States, I believe they use more wood houses and these blocks with isolation, if they even use that. So it's a little bit different, I guess. When I have been to Spain, there was also very thick brick houses to keep the house cool in the day. At least where we were staying, well, one of the places where we were staying, they did that, but that is many years ago since I've been there. I'm not quite sure what kind of house it was in Iceland. It seemed like it was made from cheaper materials, but anyways, I am getting way off track right now. So I wanted to show you some finished objects other than the one that I'm wearing right now. But it all ties into Iceland, so it is actually fine. So while I was up there, we visited a couple of places. I will take them out of order because the one that I will show you first, I knitted after I got home from Iceland, and we bought the yarn not the day we traveled home, but the day before that. So I didn't have a chance to knit on it up there, but I bought the yarn, and it was actually sorry, the dog is barking again. It was a wool factory where you could look in and see what they were doing. There were a little bit of hand knits, but most of the thing in the store was machine knit, and then cut and sewn together. And you could see them, well, they were, at the time we were there, they were cutting things and ironing things and stuff like that. So not like normal ironing, but they were using some kind of steam to make it a little bit felted. I think felted, yeah. But anyways, there were some knit kits. So one of the knit kits was with a hat, and it says there was enough for 2 hats. So I traveled up there with my husband and my parents, and my mom and I decided that we wanted to split the price and then knit the same hats. So after we bought it, I brought it home so that I could knit it first, because I knit a little bit faster than she does, and then she could have the rest of it afterwards. And of course I had to knit it finished, so here it is. I do believe that the pattern was something that was from a wool festival up there, but it is actually quite fun. I don't know if you can tell, but there are pearl stitches in the middle, so you have this garter stitch effect inside of these shapes, and also the rib in the bottom. It's a 1x1 rib, but it's going up in between the pattern here. That was quite interesting. And yeah, it is very nice and warm and soft. So this is knitted with plutolopi, where it's unspun yarn. It's the first time that I have ever knit with that, and it's not going to be the last, because that was actually, I was quite afraid of knitting with plutolopi or unspun yarn in general, because I was afraid it would just tear every single time that I would use it. But I just laid them flat. I was going to use double-stranded on 5mm needles, I believe. And it didn't break. Only one time did it. Was it very close to breaking, and it was the bottom part. So that is something that I will think about another time. I think when I came up to here, it was starting to rip apart I can't find where it is, but the place where I started, you know, it has a little tail, and that was starting to rip apart. So I think it might be here, but you can't really tell, it just feels a little lumpy. So I fastly sewed it in, and I thought that was actually the hardest part. It was to sew with it, because I was so afraid that it was going to break. But I think that another time I will faster knit, sew in the tail. But other than that, and also, sorry, I was afraid that it would tear when I pulled them together up on top. So I would probably have pulled it a little bit harder together if it had been spun yarn, but other than that, it didn't break for me, and I'm actually quite surprised. I know that when I'm spinning that they are not breaking every single time, but it just tends to break a lot often compared to what happened here. But I guess that's more that I'm sitting, well, it can be the length of the fibers, that might be it, but I also think that the way that I'm sitting with it, I typically have a little bit of wool and then I'm pulling out from that, so it might be that plus the force of the spinning wheel. I don't know. But I'm so happy that I managed to knit with unspun yarn, and that was a lot of fun. And I do think it is a very nice fabric it makes. So yeah, so I'm definitely going to try something like this another time. But this was the pattern that I knitted after I came home. While we were up there, we visited how do you say that? I think you would in English say Eric the Red, his homestead. So there was a Danish Viking that took up there in, I think it is about 800, 900 after Christ's birth, but I'm not quite sure. It is the later part of the Viking Age, but nobody else in the world have that age. It is only up here north we have like Iron Age, Viking Age, and then Middle Ages, but it is the later part of the Iron Age in the rest of the world, just before the Middle Ages. But he went up there and they have made a replica of the house that he lived in. We could see the dig site where it has been originally, so it was like looking distance from where it has been before, a little bit up a mountain, which I totally get, because it was the further you went down to the valley, it was very windy, and you could not really keep yourself warm down there. I don't think so. But they lived actually a lot of people in this house, and it was very interesting. But anyways, not to go too far into that story about him, but at the place you could buy plant-dyed yarn in plutolopi size, I guess. So that was one thing that I of course had to do. So both me and my mom bought yarn, and we both knitted up there. So the main color that I bought was this birch and iron dye, and I bought 200 grams of that. I gave some of it to my mom because the project she was making a headband, and she needed a little bit more than what she had. So she got what I had leftovers, but I knitted a hat for myself. And together with the other yarn, I also bought this package of colors, and it was colored with all of these different kind of things. I don't know if you can tell. So I was making a pattern up there while using all of these colors, and I'm actually not sure if this is a finished object or not. I was finishing it off, then wearing it a couple of days, thinking that it was a little too short, and then I have added a couple of centimeters, and it might be perfect now, but this is what it looks like. It has a very snug fit, and that is actually quite perfect, because when the wind is howling here in Denmark, I feel like, first of all, I need them to be down over my ears, because I freeze my ears very much otherwise. But I like it to be quite tight. But compared to the one that I knitted before, I'm thinking it might be too tight. And I was thinking of doing this into a released pattern, but I think I need to knit it again with different colors so that people can actually use it, and then change the things that I disliked about this. So one of the things that I really like about the design that I made was that I didn't want to make any purl stitches. I ended up making purl stitches at the bottom anyways, but the first part here I was knitting it on this side, so it is just simple knit stitch back and forth all the way around, and then I knitted them together, picked up stitches all around, and then knitted just knit stitches with colors, of course, and then knitting it on top. And all of this was Icelandic inspired, so they have those they have mountainsides where it's like going this way, so that was the idea behind this. Then they had these little yellow flowers that in Danish we call them smørblomst, which means butter flower, but I don't know what it's called otherwise. So I used the yellow to make those. And then they had these, in Danish they're called lupiner, but these purple flowers, so they had them like fields of them, and it was actually, first it was introduced on purpose to Iceland, and now it's a weed up there. she told us, the lady here. But you can use it to plant dye with if you wanted to. And I didn't know you could use lupina to plant dye with, so that was actually quite interesting. I did make a couple of other designs that I wanted to put into this hat, but I thought that it would be too long, and now I realize I might have been able to use a couple of them. But anywho's, so I added down here, I added green and pink, because that is also, they had these small pink flowers that was growing very close to the ground. A lot of things was in the ground level. In Denmark we have more woods, even though we don't have a lot of woods compared to like Sweden or something like that. It's quite flat in Denmark, and most of it is like these wheat field or corn or barley and stuff like that. You know, it's most of it is just field, but I'm actually quite used to trees, and I didn't realize how much I love trees and forest until we were up there and there were no trees and forest for the most part. But anyways, but they had these very beautiful floral that was feet height many of the places, and some of the higher with the flowers as well. It was quite interesting. So this hat was inspired by that, but I might make it into an actual pattern so that I can release it at some point. But let me know if you like the idea. Maybe you would like the original pattern, or maybe I have taken notes so I have everything from it, but other than that I would make up a pattern maybe at some point. So one of the other things, I have saved the receipt because I thought that was quite interesting. This cost 6,500 Icelandic crowns, and it sounds like an insane amount of money, and I thought that was so funny. In Danish it was 325, and then I was thinking if I should divide that also to dollars, it will be a very small number. It's of course a lot of money for wool, but not nearly as much as it sounds like. Charlie, gider du klare mig gø? So I also have another souvenir from Iceland that is knitting related, and this was a day where we were walking out to a waterfall and my socks got super wet because there was actually like taller grass, and it was raining and I just got so wet feet, and I didn't think to bring other socks, and we were gone the whole day. So that was very annoying to walk around in wet socks. It was wool socks, so it was fine, but it is not nice to walk in wet socks. After that, I was always carrying extra socks in the car and bringing that in the car, and another pair and some extra shoes in case I should get wet again, but it was the only day we had that, unfortunate. But when we went to a place to find somewhere where we could pee, there are toilets, very few places. We found this little place where they had like a cafe, and then they had all a kind of craft that local people have made, everything from woodwork to knitting. There was a lot of knitting, but it was quite expensive, for good reason. I know how much time it takes to knit something, so I don't blame them, but I'm not going to buy something that I can make myself and it was not, a lot of it wasn't pattern I haven't seen before, so it was not like that. And I couldn't buy, well, I could buy yarn, but I couldn't buy the yarn that I was able to buy there. It was hand spun, and I know how much time it takes to hand spin yarn because I do it myself. But it was a lot of money, and I'm not going to just buy that to buy that. We just bought the plant dyed yarn the day before, and I knew I was going to buy Icelandic yarn later on. So anyways, as we were there, I got a cup of tea, and I also got a souvenir. So I bought these hand knitted socks. I think they are super beautiful, and they were expensive, but can I see? I think it was about 150 Danish, so 3,000 or something Icelandic. Yeah. So it was quite expensive to buy socks for that price, but they are hand knit and they are mostly wool. This was actually quite nice because with the socks that was following the yarn, so I can see what it is and how to wash it. And yeah, here it says, so 75% wool and 25% polyamide. So I think this should be a sturdy sock. And there was also this little tag on it, made in Iceland tag, and it has like an email to the people who made it, and also it was saying here, it was saying who made it. That is so cool. I really love that. So it is handmade by Magna Baldwin's daughter. I don't think I said that right at all, but I can see who made my socks, and I know that might sound crazy to some people, but that is one of the things that I hate about fast fashion. You have no idea who made your things. You don't know if they are treated well, if they are paid well, if they have a good life. You have no idea. But here I have like a general email to the association, but you have the specific person who knitted the socks as well. That is so precious. So I don't know, I need to keep this somewhere because that is just the best. And these socks are so great. I used them for the rest of the day up there, and I took them back to the hotel, of course. And after that, every time we went home, I would change typically to a skirt and these socks and the t-shirt, just to save the pants for walking and to be super comfortable. They are so nice. I really love these. I'm so happy that I bought them. First, when I was buying them, we talked, me and my husband, is it too many monies and stuff like that? But I had very wet feet and I really didn't like that. And it was quite early on the day still. I think we went there, I think it was maybe before lunch or very close to lunch. So it was just going to be a very long day if I had to have wet feet all the time. And it was probably the worst day we had up there, because we went up north quite aimlessly looking for this this bird that I have no idea what it's called in English, but in Danish we would call it a lundefugl. or søpapegøje, which means a sea parrot. Is that what it's called? If I find it, I will leave a picture and a name for it. But we went looking for it, all the wrong places. We found out later. The ones at the store said that they would be at a specific place, but later on the week, the day before we went home, we found out that we were on a museum with a seal museum, and they told us that these specific places there was this kind of bird, and it was not at all where we were. So we're looking all the wrong places. Then we also went to it was a sheep museum. I don't know why they're using the name museum when there was nothing. There was a cafe, and there was like, I'm sorry, my dog is very barking today. It's quite annoying. It is actually one of the things that make it super hard for me to sit down and record anything, because we will try again. Hopefully the dog will stop barking. Come on, Teddy. You get the hammer. Come. So that was, yes, that was all of my finished objects. So that was at least something. And that was quite nice to have something to show you. So let me just put in that I've made this one. So when I was up there, I knew I wanted to, it was actually one of my goals for the trip. It was to buy enough yarn for a sweater and start knitting it on it. And I pretty fast decided to make a design that I could work on up there. So I had been working on a design already that is inspired by peas, plants, where peas grows, where they have these vines with weird little things that grab onto things. I don't know what they're called in English, I'm sorry. But quite inspired by that, I made a pattern. And since I realized that the sweater that I was working on is going to have to be started over, because this is just not good enough, then I set out to also buy needles, so that I had needles that I could use for the project. Because typically Icelandic sweaters with the plutolopi is knitted with 4.5 millimeters, but usually I have been knitting with 3 millimeters. And trust me, I have knit many sweaters at this point, but somehow my gauge has shifted to fit the one that fits the yarn. I think it has been because I've been knitting with the smaller, thinner yarn, and yeah, I don't know. So it's actually a good thing, because it will be a lot easier from now on when a pattern says I need to use a specific needle size. I should just use that. And it will also be easier to make my own patterns, because I can just write whatever I'm doing as the recommended thing to do. Beforehand I had to think about what the pattern normally would say, and then I would write that, and then I have to remember what I'm doing, have notes about that somewhere else. But anyways, so I came up there with this pattern in mind, and went in to buy the yarn for that. It was about 800 Danish, but it was 16,000 Icelandic, and that just sounds like an insane amount of yarn to buy. If I was buying yarn for 16,000 Danish crowns, it would just be... I hope that if I was buying that, I would never have to buy yarn again, because that is a lot of money. But of course it's Icelandic, so it's not that many. But let me just see if I can get one of each. Yeah, so I went with these colors for the P shirt. And I probably is going to call it ærte shirt, because that is the Danish word for peas. But and I think it sounds wrong in English. It sounds like someone is peeing when you say peas. Pea shirt. But yes, these are the colors. So I have 3 different kind of green here. That is going to be the background for some of most of the part where there are pattern. And then the black, well, it's not an entire black, it's like this speckled black, I guess. So it's the color 0005. I have used this before, and I really like this color for a lot of things, and I will probably most of the time use this before a complete black, because this is quite softer to the eye. The total black one is very hard on the eye. It looks quite in your face, but this looks more muted, kind of. And then this very beautiful rustic brown. I don't know if the camera is picking it up. It is called 9427 or 49. No. 9427. This is called 1416. This green is more like an army green. And this one is called 1417, which is like a lighter, still kind of earthy, woody kind of green. And then this one is called 9421, and it is quite a lighter green than the other two, and a little bit more saturated. But I think this will be a very nice combo. And I have started on this project. I started on Iceland to work on it. And yeah, let me just show you how far I have gotten. So I'm working on the body. This is what it's looking like right now. So all of the colors you can see I used down here in the bottom to give this effect. And then up top there's the brown here, then the darker green, and then there will come lighter and lighter green, and maybe it will go back to the brown. I'm not finished designing it, so I'm not quite sure what I'm doing at this point. But I think this is very beautiful. I have knitted up to here before and went back here because again, it's the gauge thing that is messing me up, and normally I can just use the same, it doesn't matter. It wasn't a problem in the bottom part, but here it simply was a little too tight, so I lost a centimeter or two, so it was going inwards, and I just knew if this was going to be a pattern that I at some point was able to release, then I want to make it right. And there was part of it that I have already knitted at this point, well, the last time, like here and also here, where there was a lot of space where you had to carry the thread, and it was very annoying to knit. There's still a lot where you have to carry the thread behind, so it will look nice on the inside and it will not have these floats, but not nearly as much as before. Before there was a lot of rounds. There was some down here in between, and then this whole part where I have made one extra swivel thingy, there was empty before. And yeah, first of all, it didn't look as interesting, if you asked me. Well, it was still pretty. I will show you a picture of it. But since I was going down anyways, I decided to redesign what was going on with the little swivelly things. But I'm almost up at where I have to start the sleeves, so very exciting. I did knit, I think, to about here or something while I was in Iceland, so this sweater has been partially knitted on Iceland, and I really love that. But yeah, so I did buy on Iceland these Knit Pro needles where you can unscrew them at size 4.5, and that was fine up until I got to the pattern. As I said, I had to go back. So right now I'm using another brand that is, I don't remember what the brand name is because they are old and it is not a known brand at all, and you can tell on the needles. But these are not the greatest, mostly because when you have to unscrew them and screw them on, it's like they almost don't fit, and then they fit, and it's a hassle. That's the one thing. The other thing is that they are not smooth out here on the tips, so yarn can gather around here, which is very annoying, where the Knit Pros are smooth all the way. I don't know if that makes sense. I have used one of these so much. It was the size 3mm. I used it so much that this part, the black part, was completely worn into almost nothing. Yeah, but I've been using them for years, so I'm just going to use them until they can't anymore, or I have completely shifted over to Knit Pros. I also bought 4.5mm. That dog is just barking non-stop. This is actually one of the reasons that sorry, but this is one of the reasons that I have a hard time to make videos, because the dog is barking, or my husband is working at home, he would be talking, or yeah, if I have no energies, of course, but there's a lot of things going on. But the whole getting interrupted every 10 minutes or something, I don't know, it is very annoying. Anyways, sorry for that. But I bought these Knit Pro sock needles, and I will try for the first time to knit the sleeves with these instead of with cable.
I usually would use a cable using a magic loop or knitting 2 at a time or something like that. Probably with magic loop anyways, but my mom is using this a lot, and I have seen other people do that. I have done it on children's size sweaters for the sleeves, because it is it's so small that it's quite impossible to do it otherwise. Well, you can do it otherwise, but I'm going to try and find out if this is something that I would like or not. But anyways, I'm actually a little bit annoyed that I didn't buy a size 5 as well, or maybe a couple of sizes, because it was a little bit cheaper to buy them than in Denmark. And the most fun part about buying all of this yarn was where we bought it, because we went to Sheep Museum, to a wool factory, to one of the original stores that is called Elefos. We went to a lot of places, but we were recommended to buy it at just shopping place. Go to any shopping place that is and buy it there, and we thought that was very odd suggestion from one of the locals. But we went into this discount store, like Netto. Yeah, I think it was actually a Netto, but it was in blue colors instead of yellow, as we have it in Denmark. But anyways, and they had a whole wall of Icelandic wool from head to ceiling, from floor to ceiling, and there was just all of the yarn that we could imagine. And even at the wool factory, there was actually a smaller amount of yarn. The only place that I was experiencing that they had more yarn was the Elefos store, but it was still only like a third of the yarn store that they had yarn, and then there was this finished sweaters and stuff like that you could just buy and wear. But they did have a lot of yarn there. But we were going home that day, so we were just passing through, and we of course bought this earlier so that we could knit on it. But we bought it. I bought it. My mom also bought yarn for a sweater that she is working on. She is working top down on that, so she is in the yoke part right now. Last time I saw it. But yes, this is what I'm working on. I will try to make this into a released pattern, because I so far really like the colors, and the pattern is also very fun. It is not a beginner friendly pattern, this one, because you have to carry the thread a lot compared to other patterns, and the way that I have to make a pattern where it is a little bit easier to follow than the one that I am knitting from right now, but it cuts right in between here, so you have to match where you're going, and it's a little bit tricky, even for me. But let me just check. So that was a little bit of knitting from Iceland. And yes, I will be working on that. One of the things that I also did in Iceland was taking pictures of the Toolbox sweater, that I will now be calling it, that I have made for my husband, that is being worked on by test knitters around the world. It seems like there are at least someone from Canada, someone from New Zealand, and a couple of others that are test knitting, and I couldn't be more exciting. One of my test knitters has been finished. Last time I heard from her, she was well, I probably need to check my mail again if there's anything new, but last time I checked, she had finished the sweater and was only needing to sew in the loose threads. But I will leave a picture that I got. And she said she really enjoyed the knits and that she would like to do it another time. So that is very, very nice and very cool. I'm so happy about that. I have heard from another test knitter that might not make it to be finished well in time. I gave them 2 months, and I honestly, this is my first time having test knitters, so I don't know if that was way too little time. So I might next time give 3 months to knit a sweater. But yeah, I will let you know when I am finished with the Erde sweater, the pea sweater, so that it can be made. But my Toolbox sweater, we took a lot of good pictures on Iceland with my husband wearing it, and also I actually was very happy to see that he was a lot of people were checking out the sweater, not my husband, but his sweater. They were like, you could see the women was like, what? And looking at that, looking at all of our sweaters we were wearing. Of course, his is not Icelandic. So my camera keeps on falling down, so now I will just wrap it up like this. But as I was trying to say, our sweaters got a lot of looks, and we did get a few compliments as well. I have designed the sweater that my mom is wearing on this picture. I have not released the pattern. She's the only one who has it, and she got it 4 years ago on her birthday, and together with the yarn, and she knitted it as a special memory. And she was wearing that. I still think that is a very beautiful pattern, so I will definitely look into releasing it. My father's sweater that my mom has knitted was heavily inspired by one we saw in Norway. So I don't know if it is too close to the original. It was completely different yarn, completely different gauge, and the pattern is not that close, so I think that I might be able to make that into a pattern as well. But I think that that pattern was also very beautiful, and I was wearing one of my own patterns that you can find for free on this channel if you want to, and that got a lot of looks as well. I did also wear the Icelandic anniversary sweater up there, and I actually saw a couple of other people wearing the same pattern, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, that was really nice. Actually, a couple of times people thought we were from Iceland because we were all wearing these sweaters, so that was quite fun. But yeah, I actually think that was it for today. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope that I can edit it so that the dog barking and the phone falling and everything will be less of a problem. But yeah, that is how it goes. And I also hope that I will be able to put up a video sooner. Yeah, but we will see. I don't know if I have anything else. I will let you know when the pattern is released for the Toolbox sweater. And yeah, that is all I got for today. So Yes. Have a very nice day, and God bless you. Bye.